Hello and welcome to Wingin It. So here once again we are back with another game from the Diamond Firetail Foursomes. This is our team tournament that we have going on. I'm part of team the Beaky Blinders. This is my last game of the group stage, so it's a pretty straightforward task. I've absolutely got to win this one to give our team a good chance of getting through. It's pretty tight at the top at the moment, but here we go, straight into the starting hand. Not the most inspiring of starting hands. Obviously the bonus cards, Omnivore Expert, pretty straightforward keep. But yeah, certainly, looking at the 5 birds, quite tricky, I think, to try and negotiate this. Not, a whole lot of great options. Typically you look for a nice cheap forest bird, a nice cheap wetland bird, preferably ones that have got good brown powers that you can start activating and helping getting some additional resources. So yeah, birds like Feckless Lark, the Whistling Duck, they're just not really great options, really, that you consider. The Horned Owl is one I am looking at purely because, there are a couple of rodents in the feeder, so, it is a bit slow, but it is an option, and it is one that works for this end of round goal, as well as the final end of round goal. So, in a pinch, it's not bad, but equally, the Goldfinch is an okay option. Obviously, if your opponent is going to go for some tucking birds, you can get some good extra points from that. And likewise, the Chaffinch is not bad as a cheap early forest bird. But you see, in the end, I go for the Horned Owl on the 4 food. I am definitely looking at the tray, particularly that red-winged blackbird. My plan here is to grab that, and then I've got the seed. I can look to play that, and then hopefully, start spending some turns digging through the deck and see what I get. If I get something good, I can maybe look to play that instead of the Horned Owl. But for sure, I've got a backup option here at least. Get those couple of rodents and get it down. So we'll see. This was very nearly a 5 food start. Not something I do very often, and certainly in tournament games, I think I might have only done it once or twice ever. So it's one of those where, in a really desperate situation, if you don't have great birds, you can make it work. Certainly if there is something in the tray you can pick up and work with. But I think I could make a justification for keeping the Horned Owl here just as a little bit of a backup. And here we go, into our first turn. My opponent presumably with a much better starting hand, keeping 3 birds and 2 food. But yeah, for me, like I said, straight away we're going to grab that blackbird. And pretty straightforward. Nothing else really in the tray that particularly catches my eye. So I think it is just going to be a case of play the blackbirds, maybe lay some eggs, and then just start drawing cards. And obviously, if I discard an egg, I get to look at 2 cards. If I get cards I like, I can keep them and look to get the food to play them. But equally, I know I'm going to be drawing some cards that I don't like. So those can get tucked under the blackbird. That'll get me a point, and obviously an extra egg, which I can then use to discard the next time I go for cards as well. So yeah, as I said, get the blackbird down, and hopefully we can go from there and try and get some good cards. And so here we go, on to our next turn, and look at what we have got in the tray. My opponent, they took the common starling, and very, very fortunately for me, revealed that American coot. So like I said, I think the original plan here was to lay eggs and then obviously discard one of those to get the extra card. But yeah, with the coot there, I couldn't really afford to mess about. So this is another nice thing actually of having the Horned Owl. It meant that I could pick up the coot, and then I did have a bird to tuck. So Horned Owl, sorry, your usefulness has expired now. And now I've got that coot. Obviously hitting the Omnivore Expert bonus card as well. Really, really nice. But yeah, the power, obviously tuck and draw. So alongside that blackbird, I've potentially got a 3-point engine on the go. It's going to let me look at lots of cards and hopefully get something good. So the plan was to get the seed and play that, but my opponent, probably deliberately there, went and interfered and grabbed the only seed. So a little bit frustrating. Obviously I could force it down here. I do have the 3 food that I need, but then that leaves me with nothing, and it's always a big risk, I think, when you do that, to sort of put yourself in that position of not having any food. And obviously not have any food generating birds down. I know at some point I'm going to need some kind of forest bird, or some kind of food generating bird, hopefully to go alongside these nice tucking birds in the wetlands that I can use to get myself going. To play any of those, I'm going to need food at some point. So It is a little bit slow. Obviously take the cherry there, which allows my opponent to get a reroll, and very fortunately for me, leaves plenty and plenty of seeds. So I can go grab one of those. I now have one of each food type, so in theory my options are absolutely endless. I can play any bird in the world I want, but yeah, I think certainly just get this coot down. Thankfully with the egg on the blackbird I can do that straight away, and yeah, we're going to start drawing some cards, hopefully over the next few turns, and see what we can get. And so we do come here to our next turn. My opponent doing something similar, get the bird in the wetlands, lay some eggs, start drawing some cards. We're going to go from the deck. We're going to find Eastern Phoebe straight away. We're going to be very, very happy with that. So yeah, can't really complain too much about that. When you're talking about food generating birds, Phoebe is definitely up there in terms of one of the best, in terms of just being able to get obviously worms in any habitat. Only costs a single food. I've already got the worm to play it. Yeah, really, really happy with that. Obviously, it's going to give potentially food away to my opponent as well. And considering they don't have any forest birds, that is something that I will need to kind of monitor and yeah, just kind of be wary of and be careful of. But I think this is really good for me, obviously. Just get that down. That's my food sorted. And yeah, hopefully get some more good birds like that, just from the sheer volume of cards I'm going to be seeing. Once again, we come to our next turn. And yeah, in the end, I go for the egg laying purely for this end of round. You know, I kind of noticed looking at my opponent, they only had the Anhinga with that nest type. And so, you know, by me laying eggs here, obviously I get 2 points for those eggs. They're going to help potentially down the line as well for playing more birds. But I'm also going to get extra points for this end of round goal. So, you know, if I hadn't laid eggs there, my opponent would have won the end of round goal. They get 4 points, I get no points. But now by me laying those 2 eggs, we're both going to tie this end of round goal. We both get 2 points each. So I gain 2 points, my opponent loses 2 points. That's a net 4-point turn for me, on top of those 2 eggs that I just managed to gain as well. So yeah, that felt good. Like I said, we do tie this end of round, and we go here into this round 2. So yeah, interesting looking tray. I think probably the pleated woodpecker is not a bad pickup. Certainly I'm expecting my opponent to go and start drawing some cards, and yeah, looking to get something in there for us at least, just to try and yeah, get some food generation going, because that is definitely what they're lacking at the moment. But for me, you know, pretty straightforward. I know I'm going to be getting this Phoebe down, no questions asked. Kind of need that desperately, and yeah, like I said, my options are pretty open here. I can just spend a few turns drawing cards for as long as there is egg space on that blackbird. I'm going to be getting 2 tuck cards and an egg, so I get a 3-point activation whenever I draw cards. Obviously, I'm going to be keeping 1 card and then getting a worm as well from the Phoebe. So yeah, really, I think, like I say, just draw as many cards as I can. You know, let myself see lots and lots of cards, hopefully find some good ones. And yeah, use this Eastern Phoebe to give me the food to play those as well. And on to our next turn once again. You see my opponent did find a nice forest bird, so Eastern Screech Owl, pretty good for them. That will get them going and get some food. Obviously, my Eastern Phoebe is going to be giving them some food as well. Yeah, like I said, for me, straightforward. We're going to start drawing some cards. Eleanor's Falcon's not a bad pickup here. Obviously, I already had the rodent. I managed to get the worm there from the Phoebe. So it's definitely one I'm considering playing. You know, the brown power itself isn't a great one. So it's one of these new European expansion hunting powers, quite similar to those in the base game, where you roll all the dice outside the feeder. But this time, instead of getting cash food, you actually get eggs instead, which I think is actually more useful in this kind of wetlands engine. You know, you tend to find that you need eggs a bit more, either for discarding if you've got something like a crow, or obviously just to play more birds later in the game. So I was considering playing it here. But purely because I do have all this extra egg space on the blackbird, I thought I'd give myself at least 1 more turn drawing cards, see what I get, and we get a really good pickup there in the American Crow. So yeah, absolutely, you know, these are the birds you look for when you're running this kind of wetlands engine. I would say they are better than something like a Phoebe, purely because they're not cooperative powers. So you know, the downside of the Phoebe is that when you activate it, everyone gets a worm. With the Crow, obviously you have to pay an egg, but you gain any food you want, and you're not giving food to your opponent. So yeah, felt like a pretty good pickup. Obviously works with the bonus card as well. potentially can help towards this end of round goal, birds in the wetlands. So yeah, very, very happy to get that American Crow. So coming back round to our turn once again, you see my opponent is starting to get some food, so they're looking to play some birds, I would imagine, but they probably can't compete for this end of round. But yeah, like last turn, now I've still got egg space on that blackbird. I'm going to still draw it again just to see what I can get. So yeah, obviously I could have played the crow. It would have given me the extra card draw. But in the end, pretty happy to go and grab that snow bunting. So obviously it's a pretty good power in its own right. But probably more importantly, I've managed to grab that from the deck, which meant that my opponent wasn't going to grab it from the deck. So obviously with all this tucking I'm doing, that would have been a really good play for them just to counter some of this point generation that I'm getting. So yeah, it might be something I like to play. Obviously if I do go for this crow next, I can use the crow to get seed and then play that pretty easily. My opponent at the moment, I don't think they have any tucking birds down. Certainly not ones that would trigger the snow bunting. So there is always a bit of gambling and kind of risk taking when you're playing something like a snow bunting before your opponent gets any tucking birds down. But I think it's still worthwhile, just at least as a bit of a defense mechanism. It's a bit of insurance. What you're saying to your opponent is, you can play a tucking bird if you want, but as soon as you activate that, I'm going to be getting points as well. So yeah, you see my opponent, they played the red knot, really making use of all those free worms I was giving them. So that is always the risk that you take when you throw food around a bit. But it has helped me here. Obviously, I can get this crow down. And yeah, now I can think a bit more carefully. Maybe I do want to keep using the Phoebe, getting a bunch of extra food. Or maybe I can kind of switch that off and just use the crow instead and kind of be really selective, really picky about which food I choose to get. And once again, my opponent playing another wetland bird. So yeah, they are really starting to push and kind of compete for this end of round. But I do feel like I've got this in the bag purely from this kind of engine I've been setting up. But yeah, we're going to go for cards as always. Hopefully get some good pulls. I think the spotted owl is not bad at all. When you're not playing brown powers in the forest to generate food, I think getting big point birds or bonus card giving birds is always nice. So you see I go for the rodent and I do indeed skip the Phoebe. Now, the white-throated swift, that was definitely one I had my eye on from the previous turn when that was there. I'm just kind of thinking a little bit ahead here. At the moment, whenever I draw cards, obviously I'm doing some tucking, but I am still generating a couple of cards a turn. But not a huge number of points. I get a couple of tucks, I get one egg, but then I am obviously discarding the egg with the crow. So it is only a 2-point engine, and the later in the game you get, the weaker that kind of 2-point engine is. So this just gives me options, for a potential late game pivot. If I do want to, get some tucking birds or some kind of point generators in the grasslands, and then spend that last round laying eggs, I'm obviously going to have some extra cards left over to be able to do that. So yeah, quite happy to get that. We go for cards again, and we get the common raven. So talking of grassland pivots, yeah, that definitely kind of set me off there as okay, I can pivot away from this full tuck. This has kind of served its purpose, obviously in terms of scoring points, generating resources. But now I've got this raven, and certainly quite a few big point birds in my hand that are going to need a lot of food. Yeah, I can definitely think about pivoting into the grasslands. And yeah, you'll see that's why I do start skipping these food generating powers. Once you've got a raven, I think you're pretty safe in being able to get all the food you need. So yeah, with just one extra wetland spot open, I think that purple gallinule is going to be the one to take it. Obviously 7 points, potentially gives me some extra cards if I do need to draw cards again later in the game. Helps the omnivore bonus card as well. So yeah, really kind of timely. Obviously that raven, getting that alongside the swift is going to be really good. And yeah, as we kind of end this second round, when the end of round goal going into the third round, I can definitely think about getting this grasslands pivot set up. So definitely the plan was get the raven and the swift down. However, my rule of thumb is whenever there's a nice big point bird in the tray, you should take it. So yeah, Prothonotary Warbler there, really, really good. It's going to hit the last 2 end of round goals. 8-point bird, a lot of egg space. And yeah, if you are going to be laying lots of eggs through a grasslands engine, then having that kind of yeah, egg space is really, really good. And yeah, getting the food for that is going to be so easy with the raven. So I could afford to do that turn. I still got points. Obviously, I could still skip those food generating birds because I know once the raven goes down, that's going to sort me out. But yeah, I did have the egg space on the blackbird as well, fortunately. So yeah, pretty good turn all in all. And as we go on to the next turn here, I can start getting this set up, obviously get this raven down, and get the swift down as well. And then I think we're away. And so I'll just skip forward a couple of turns here. You'll see I have managed to get the swift and the raven down. Very, very nice. Had all the food to do that, and yeah, now we can start laying eggs. So obviously I need to get a white power down for this end of round. So I think the spotted owl is going to be the one. You know, whenever you have these bonus card giving birds, I think it's important to prioritize getting those down as soon as you can, just because it's going to help give you extra time to work towards that. So, you know, I'm going to draw a bonus card. Maybe I just need 1 or 2 more birds to hit it. I am expecting 1 more turn drawing card. So if I can sort of time that right and make sure that, you know, I know what birds I'm looking for when I do draw those birds, then yeah, just gives you a bit more information. So spotted owl is going to go down, obviously for this end of round goal, but for the bonus card as well. And yeah, not a bad bonus card. You know, viticulturalist, large bird specialist, 1 away of each of those. So do have to think a bit carefully. You see I'm looking at this gallinule. I was already planning on playing that, so that kind of makes my mind up there on the viticulturalist. You know, already was going to be a 7-point play for that gallinule, but that becomes a 10-point play now. So yeah, pretty clear to me that's going to be the route to go down. And yeah, I mean, still, once I get that down, I'm only 2 away. So on that last turn drawing cards, maybe I am able to, you know, get the extra birds I need. A couple more, maybe some double birds in the forest to help finish that off. But yeah, last turn of the round, obviously we are able to qualify for this end of round, and we're going to start hopefully getting some of this food for the purple gallinule. And yeah, tuck any extra birds. Probably that hummingbird as well can go at some point next round, but obviously if I am going to draw cards again, potentially going to draw some other dud cards that maybe I don't want to play. So yeah, feeling pretty good about this grassland pivot. It felt pretty timely, and yeah, has really allowed me to get plenty of these big point birds down. And so we come to the end of round. We do lose the end of round goal, which is a shame, but I think we just didn't quite have enough time to meet that. So it was good at least to get that spotted owl, so we got some points. And yeah, here we go into the final round. We have a fresh new trait to look at. And certainly that eastern bluebird is one that is catching my eye. Talking of birds that are going to help me meet the viticulturalist, when you're able to play 2 in 1 turn, that is always a good option to have. So yeah, you know, if I can grab that and maybe 1 other cherry eating bird and max out this bonus card, I'm gonna feel pretty happy about that. And yeah, the original plan was definitely to play the gallinule first and then draw cards. But like I said before, when there's a bird in the tray that catches your eye, go and grab it. Don't hesitate any longer. So yeah, I'm going to go and draw cards here. We get the American Robin off the deck, so that's potentially an option. We get the black redstart as well. That's another option in terms of birds to hit the viticulturist. So yeah, definitely got some options on the table here. Obviously keep skipping those food generating powers with the raven that I've got. And yeah, we tuck one of those birds we're not going to play. We can grab the eastern bluebird. And yeah, now I'm just kind of weighing up my options. It's kind of unusual, I think, to play something like the black redstart so late in the game. However, if I can get 4 eggs from it, or potentially even 5 if I'm able to get them in this wetlands, that could be worthwhile. Obviously, it's going to help generate some extra eggs just by being that extra grassland bird. Does give me a bit more egg space that I might need if I am laying eggs for the rest of the game. And yeah, obviously hits the viticulturist bonus card as well. So 0-point bird with a round end power in round 4. Like I say, not the most usual of plays, but yeah, definitely one I'm considering. And it's, yeah, for me, just a case of kind of calculating and weighing up, you know, if I played the Robin and got how many tucks off that versus playing the redstart and getting so many eggs in the end, I do decide that the redstart is going to be the way to go. So yeah, obviously got 4 turns left here. I'm thinking it's probably going to be 2 turns laying eggs, 1 turn doing this double play in the grasslands, and then obviously 1 final turn to get the gallinule down as well. And yeah, I mean, in terms of turn order, probably doesn't matter too much. I know obviously I'm going to need to lay eggs first here just to get the food for these double birds. I could probably then look to play those and then lay eggs and then obviously get the gallinule down. And yeah, just think carefully about where I'm laying the eggs so that I can make sure I can make the most out of the redstart's power. So yeah, go for the eggs here, get the food that we need to do this double play, and tuck the card that we aren't looking to play, which in this case is that hummingbird. And so we jump ahead to our final turn of the game. You'll see we did the double play in the grasslands, we got the food we needed, and we can play this purple gallinule. So yeah, just had to lay so many eggs that I didn't quite manage to clear up all the space in the wetlands, but I do still have obviously those 4 birds in the grasslands with no eggs on. So I am able to hit the red starts power, and yeah, just taking a quick look at those 2 bonus cards. 8 points from the Omnivore Expert and 7 points from the Viticulturalist. Very, very nice indeed to get that many bonus card points from just 2 cards. And there we go, we get our 3 eggs from the red start. Unfortunately lose the end of round goal, but here we go into the final scores. And I think I did feel pretty comfortable here. Obviously, whenever you have a Raven and are able to get some big point birds down, that helps. So slightly behind, but then, like I said, those huge number of bonus card points really came in there. End of round goals was pretty close. My opponent did edge that slightly. But then, yeah, just a huge advantage in the number of eggs. A few cash food for my opponent, but then thanks to all those tucking birds at the start of the game, we get to 102 points in the end for the win. So, pretty good game, I think. I was very happy with that. Like I said, really did need to win this to give my team every chance of qualifying for the next round. And yeah, was very happy to deliver there with what I thought was a very satisfying game. Definitely, you know, any time I can start with a full tuck, especially considering the slightly weak starting hand that I had to deal with, always feels good. And then, yeah, just really a clean pivot into that Grasslands engine to get all these big point birds down and hit the bonus card. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. And if you want to see more gameplay videos like this, please do consider subscribing to this channel.